Bangkok, Thailand, otherwise known in Thai as Krungthep Mahanakhon. Krungthep is the city of angels, Mahanakhon, the great city. Actually, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest city name. It takes about 30 seconds to say the whole thing, but everybody just calls it Krungthep. So how about that fun fact? Welcome back everybody to Gemology for Schmucks. Today I want to talk about why I've always been saying that Bangkok is the capital for colored gemstones. And don't get me wrong, there are other gemstone capitals. There's Rajasthan in India, there's Shenzhen in China, there's all sorts of places. In fact, the biggest gem and mineral show in the world happens every year in Tucson, Arizona. How about that, of all the places? But why is it that Bangkok maintains itself as the gemstone capital when the biggest show is in Tucson, or there's shows in Europe and all of these things? Well, those are some of the details I'd like to get into this video. Scrumptious. Colored gemstones, this encompasses basically everything except diamonds, but the primary focus point for Bangkok is actually corundum, so that's rubies and sapphires. For the past several hundred years, Burma or Myanmar has been the capital for the best rubies in the world, and rubies are the most expensive gemstones in the world, outpacing even diamonds by weight. And Burma, or Myanmar as it's known now, has had a bit of a turbulent history, and so sometimes that supply of rubies was not consistent enough to keep up with international demand. In Thailand, they actually found that they had their own domestic source of rubies, a bit darker than the Burmese rubies for sure, but still definitely enough to satisfy demand, and they had volume. So when they got advanced mining techniques from the Australians, they were able to go in and create a consistent, regular supply of rubies for the international markets. And that's what major jewelry manufacturers need. They need a consistent supply of dependable goods. So from that experience, the Thai dealers actually gained a lot of experience with corundum. So that's ruby and sapphire. Different areas in Thailand also produce incredible sapphires. So these Thai dealers that have experience with corundum, sometimes they had stones that weren't exactly saleable, but they found ways to treat them using historically accepted methods like heat treatment, and then advanced upon them with the developments of science in order to create some stunningly gorgeous sapphires. So they combined some of these techniques that they were learning and practicing and developing, which are very closely guarded secrets at this point. So they used their experience dealing with their own domestic sapphires, as well as some of the supply that they would get from places like Sri Lanka or Africa. They found that they could take unsaleable rubies and sapphires and bring them up to a level that appealed to the aesthetic of the global market, and at a price point that was much more appreciable than completely untreated gemstones. For investment level stones, of course, untreated is what we're looking for. But if you're just looking for a pretty sapphire, then a heated sapphire is going to be much cheaper and much more accessible than a heated sapphire. And just with the naked eye, there's no way to really distinguish them. You need to use a microscope or advanced testing techniques. So on a purely aesthetic level, they can be the same. But on a price point level, simply because of the rarity, they're of course not the same thing. Everything of course has its price. Even heated stones still sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. If we're looking at stones with the same color, clarity, and carat weight, then of course the untreated stone is going to be a much higher price. So why is Bangkok the capital of colored gemstones? Well, they've got all of this experience that I just described a moment ago. Importantly, on top of that, the environment for the trade here is very stable. Everybody knows generally what the government is going to expect of them. Nobody's worried about the man coming in and just snatching up their goods. But geographically, it's also advantageous. Thailand is very close to Myanmar. It's also close to Sri Lanka. It's not that far from India. There are many people who are from Jaipur, India, for example, that have their own cutting facilities and their own offices in Jaipur, but they also have offices here and maybe in Hong Kong. And why would they do that? Because this is a nexus point. It's easy for people to come from Jaipur and Burma and Africa and Sri Lanka, and for them to converge in one place that is stable. Bangkok is the place. The supply has been stable through here. So you've got people that know how to mine. You've got people who know how to treat stones. You've got a lot of incredibly experienced cutters. You've got people from Russia, Ukraine, the United States. Everybody kind of converges here because there's supply of stones, and there's an exchange of stones. Some people will stay here full time and have offices. Other people will come in for a few weeks on a buying trip, take their goods back to their country, and sell that way. So because there is so much of the trade right here, that's why I chose Bangkok to come and study gemology. I studied at AIGS, which is the Asian Institute of Gemological Sciences, which I would say is one of the top 3 competitors for gemological training. The other major brands of schools we can talk about in another video. They all are quite comparable. They have some advantages over each other in different places, and we'll talk about the how and the why of that in a different video. But really, what's not to like about this? You got tropical fruit available all year round, you've got gemstones flooding through the streets, and you've got a wonderful cosmopolitan environment where all sorts of people get to mix right next to each other. People from all nations, all faiths, all creeds, all walks of life are able to do business here and mix under the banner of gemstones. So I'd say that's a pretty awesome thing. All right, thank you again for joining me on Gemology for Schmucks. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe button, and don't forget to tell your friends. Take care of yourself in this time of lockdown. We're gonna get through it together. It's not gonna be a problem. Take a deep breath, and we move on. See you next time. Don't forget to wash your hands. Bye-bye.